But so
Yep, I've revoked my
you.
consent.
Okay, you revoked your consent, but if you knew that if you revoked your consent, that would result in my life ending, you would still think that's okay?
No moral issue to this at all. If I
No.
I can revoke my consent at any given time. If I cannot revoke my consent at any given time, it's not consent, it's force, and that inherently is grape apologist, which
Okay.
makes you a slave apologist and a grape apologist.
So what makes you what is more important? The fact that you gave me consent to put my hand on your shoulder or my life?
An individual's consent to their bodily autonomy is far more important than any situation that would come from revoking
Than
that consent.
anyone's life?
Any situation that comes from revoking that consent. It is not my fault that revoking my consent resulted in your life being ended. I revoked my consent.
So that
It's
means
that simple.
So you're basically condemning murder. Because personally, I believe.
Nope. You are the one. You are the one who you are so shallow that you're allowing ongoing consent to not be revoked. If you cannot revoke consent, then it is inherently not consent. What happens when you aren't consenting to something?
Okay, so let's look at it from this standpoint.
What happens when you're not consenting to something?
When I'm not consenting to something, it depends on what it is.
It is either assault, if it is either assault if it's a physical thing, or it's some form of rape. Clearly, right? So
wait, what am I consenting to? I need a little more context here to understand.
Can you consent to a parasite?
Consent to a parasite? If you're referring to a baby as a parasite, that's completely different.
Define parasite. What is a parasite?
Let's look up a definition. Definition of parasite.
The definition of a parasite, I'm fairly certain, is an organism that would persist on the nutrients of its host.
Oh, let's see. I have the definition: a plant or animal that lives on or inside another living thing called a host. A plant or an animal.
We are animals,
last
honey.
time I checked, a human being is not a plant or an animal.
We are animals.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry that you're ignorant, but we are animals.
Pause. Iris, what's the highest level of education you've had?
I have a high school diploma, and
What?
I'm arguing with full-grown men right now, so I'm trying my hardest. But
yeah, simple
I'm
question.
Right now,
Next simple question. What is a mammal?
A mammal? Something like that gives birth without an egg.
Well, sometimes. But so here's the thing. We are mammals, correct?
Yeah, I do agree that.
Is a mammal an animal?
But you don't refer to yourself as an animal.
Yes, I do.
I absolutely do.
I am an ape.
I do agree that we are.
I am an ape. I am an animal. I am a mammal. And a mammal is an animal. I am an animal. I'm an ape.
If someone asks, "What are you?" You're gonna say that, and
an
not
ape.
A human being. Okay.
A human being is a class.
To get that.
That's like saying a dog is not a fucking animal.
Yeah, if I say I'm a human, it's a classification, right? If you ask me what kind of pet I have, and I say, "Oh, I have an animal," that's not a very specific classification, is it? You're gonna look at me like I'm stupid. If I say, "What are you?" If I say, "What are you?" and you say, "I'm an animal," all right. I mean, you're technically correct, but like a closer classification would be a Homo sapien, you know. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is, you are an animal, and so thus, by all matters of technicality, a parasite's definition does fit that of a fetus.
Yeah, so I do agree that we are in the classification of animals because I think I agree with that part, but I don't necessarily agree that we refer to ourselves as animals. I mean, we are one, but we do refer to ourselves as human beings.
It doesn't matter.
And like I said, even looking at it from a Christian standpoint, when God said that I knit you together in your mother's womb, that's where that definitely plays a part in it. But then again, that is my religion. That is what.
Yes, that's your bullshit that you believe. We understand.
Okay, but what I believe in, it doesn't necessarily affect you or bother you so much about what I believe in. Does that affect your daily life? Not necessarily.
It does. So the thing is that people like you have the ability to vote on things in which affect everyone else. And the thing is the fact that you're voting because of your bullshit religion that tells you to believe these obviously false things, that affects me.
sorry. Continue. Right on.
That affects me, right? So here's the thing, right? Would you vote against human rights?
No. Like I said before, I believe that abortion should be situational. I do believe abortion should still be a thing, and that people who actually think personally, if I was raped, I would, hope to have an abortion. Do I think if someone who's being irresponsible, who's not using protection, who accidentally got pregnant, should, have the choice to get an abortion? I don't think so. Not necessarily, especially if you're in the right financial stability to be able to have a baby or at least give the baby up for adoption. Should I think there should be more resources because the foster care system is definitely messed up? 100%. I also think there should be more research on if there are alternatives to abortions, like even C-sections. I don't necessarily think it's okay for people to have to get ripped open in order not to, give
Well,
birth to something, but I do think there should be more research to, maybe continue to keep the baby's life. Of course, that's something that probably won't happen for another 100 years, but I do think there should be something like that. I don't necessarily consider myself pro-choice because I don't think someone being irresponsible should have the choice to kill their baby, but I also don't necessarily think if someone is raped that they should have to carry that baby to full term and give birth to it. So it's, like I said, it's very situational. I don't have to classify myself with one side or another. It's my opinions and my beliefs. I do think that
I mean, at the end
like
of
I
the
said,
day,
you shouldn't take a life to make another's easier because I do think that babies, even though they're still in the womb, should have a right to life. I also
You
think if you
shouldn't
were
take a
raped,
life to
I
make or
also
save another.
you shouldn't take a life to make another's easier. But
can-
say if giving birth to that baby would kill the mother.
I mean, I
then
definitely
I think
agree
it
that you
should be
shouldn't take a life just to make someone's life easier. Define life.
What do you mean define life?
What does it mean to be alive? What makes
Um,
something
it-
alive?
What makes something alive? Well, even if you look at it in the context of bacteria, people say that bacteria on Mars is like, life. So you can
it's signs of
can
potential life, not life itself. It's
How do you know
So
whether
how do
something
you
is alive or
distinguish
not?
that? How do you distinguish that? If
That's what I'm
bacteria
asking
is
you.
life
How do
on
you know
Mars,
whether something is alive or not? What does it
well,
mean
I
to be
think if
alive?
it's a living organism, if it's growing, if it will, in fact, at some point have a heartbeat, grow to
No,
be
no, no. What makes it alive? Not will be alive. Alive.
a living organism.
What is that? What does it mean to be living?
Um, I don't know, have blood flow, have cells, stuff like that.
Blood flow makes
I
something
think that,
alive?
I don't know, just, being something that's not an inanimate object, something that has cells, that has brain cells, that is growing, even though it's not growing by itself. If it's still growing, then I think that makes it alive.
That's fair. That's fair. What makes something conscious?
I don't know.
What do you think consciousness is?
Being able to comprehend what's going on around you.
Yeah, the actual Oxford definition is going to be awake and aware. So being awake, the lack of
Do
being
you think
asleep.
being awake and aware means that your life is valuable now?
Nope.
Okay, so even if you look at people
Because
who are on
I think
hospice,
slave condoners
like-
and defenders don't deserve life,
yeah,
and they're awake and
Okay.
aware.
so
Like
I
God.
deserve to die.
Yeah, if you defend slavery, yeah, you don't deserve the life that you
Well,
have.
according to you,
If you defend
slavery,
genocide,
but I
rape, and
don't.
slavery, you are not.
I don't defend genocide,
You don't deserve
especially
it.
being Jewish and the Holocaust. I don't.
You don't defend
did
genocide?
You say I deserve it?
Huh? No, I'm
Did-
saying
did
if
you-
you are a rape, genocide, or slavery defender and condoner, you don't deserve the life that you have.
Okay, I deserve the life that I have because I don't defend any of those things.
You
Anyways,
just did.
I did
Exodus
it,
21:7.
but that's okay. Okay, let's go back to
But
what we were
God
what
said
we
that
were-
when, not if, not you.
Can-
He said
we
when
go back
you
to-
sell your daughter as a slave, do it this way, and you defended it. Therefore, you're a slave defender.
Okay, so I thought we moved on from that topic because we were.
I know you ran away from the topic because you were getting your ass
I
handed to
didn't
you.
run away from it. I didn't run away from it, but that's okay.
Right, you're defending slavery, and you had to move on to abortion
I'm
so
not-
you could lose
I'm not-
twice.
I'm not okay. All right, sir. Anyways, so the definition of being alive means having life or not being dead.
Mhm.
So if we look at consciousness, like you said, which I think that's a really
Sure.
good, I think that's a really good, point to bring up. Even if you look at people that are on hospice, I'm a CNA, so I see a lot of people that aren't necessarily conscious, that or even people in a coma, but I still think their lives are valuable, even though they're not conscious and aware of stuff. You know what I mean? Or the fact that they have to rely on
Well, that's up to the
they
people,
can't
the
breathe.
loved ones.
They can't breathe by
No,
themselves.
that's
Stuff
up to
like
the
that.
loved ones.
Okay,
It's up to the
maybe
loved
I
ones
think
to decide whether to pull the plug or not, correct or false.
that's correct.
So that's
But even
pro-choice.
if
So
you,
you believe that if it is not conscious, it is okay to have the choice in whether you want to keep it alive or not.
but I don't think it should
You just
necessarily
debunked
be
yourself.
anyone else's choice. I mean, especially with people who are
Someone that's in a
about to go
coma,
into hospice
brain
or they
dead,
know
but
that they're
still
dying,
alive, does the
being
family
able,
have the ability to pull the plug or not?
if they want to, but did that
There you go.
person,
You're pro-choice. So put that towards a fetus that is not
like I
alive
said,
on its own. It's a parasite. It
I don't
requires
necessarily want to classify myself like
taking
either
the life force
pro-choice or
of
pro-life.
the host for its own survival, which is the definition of a parasite. In accordance with someone in a coma who is brain dead and not going to come back, it is up to the host or the person who is closest in relation to decide whether to keep them going or not. Correct? It is
Well,
pro-choice.
that's situational. That's situational because if you
You're
even look at
correct. It is
people who,
situational. Some people want
okay,
to
but if
have
you look
the
at people who
parasite. Some
signs
people want
if
the
you look at
parasite to be
someone,
birthed into a baby. And some
okay,
people don't.
but
That's
if you look,
pro-choice.
okay, sorry. If you look at people who sign like a DNR who don't want to be resuscitated when they, go bye-bye, that's their choice necessarily. Like I said, it's situational. But then again, like I said, I don't think abortion should be illegal because of the certain situations. But if you think that anyone can just, have a fun night and accidentally get pregnant and then just kill the baby,
It's not
that's
a baby.
morally incorrect.
It's a
It is a
parasite.
baby.
It's a fetus.
It is a baby.
Nope, it's a fetus.
I mean, it would be a blasphemy.
Zygote.
Zygote, yeah.
It's a zygote. It's not a baby. A baby is a born human baby male. Human.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
so even if you look at it from like miscarriages, like I've seen someone
very
like have a
sad.
miscarriage and like very, very sad. So why don't people mourn the same way when it comes to abortion?
Well, they didn't have a
here's the
choice
issue.
in the
They
natural
do.
law of life.
But they absolutely do more in the same way. Like the thing is that like when to have an abortion isn't an easy choice.
Absolutely
Like,
not.
And the thing is, everyone wants to act like it's just like, oh, the easiest thing they could have ever chose. People don't do it just for fun. People don't have fucking punch cards that say, oh, I got my 12th abortion this month. The next one's free. The
Next one's free. Diabolical.
yeah. Fucking next one I get a free pizza. I don't fucking know, right? So the thing is like when it comes down to it, this is a hard and heavy topic. My ex-wife, we had to have one early on, and it was because we just financially couldn't do it, right? There was no financial structure at all that would allow us to do it. And then, we had to have another one right after that occurred literally at the 8-month mark. Because we found out the baby would have been born without lungs. Or kidneys, sorry. The baby would have been born without kidneys. And the only option for that baby would have been for it to be born and live an agonizing 3 seconds where it, drowned on its own crimson. I gotta be careful with TikTok words, right? But the thing is that all this occurs, and these aren't easy choices, right? None of them are easy choices. No one has it just because they had a crazy weekend, and I have a crazy weekend, and I have this crib in my side room. But YOLO. No. When people have them, it's for a reason. 9 times out of 10, it's financial.
You can't talk for everyone. So, like I said, if
Excellent.
you're not,
Give me an example. Give me a statistic that shows non-financial reasons.
That shows non-financial reasons of why you'd not want to have a baby.
Yeah, well, give me one that shows the amount of abortions that occur because of non-financial reasons.
Okay, let's look it up.
Dude, chat on YouTube is being diabolical as fuck. Fetus pizza, fetty and pineapple.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
welcome to Robus's pizzeria and abortion clinic. Yesterday's loss is today's sauce.
Damn!
I did
Fuck!
horrible joke.
Woo!
It's as bad as all the this is difference between a pile of dead babies and my
man.
Ferrari.
We're going to hell.
I don't have a Ferrari in my garage.
We're going to hell. Yeah.
Okay, so with a study done in 2004, 73% of people said that they couldn't afford a baby at the time.
Yeah, the majority of all abortions are not just because some fucking frat bro knocked someone up. It's because they're incapable financially or health-wise to give birth to a baby.
I think
the majority of them do not happen when it is a baby. It happens when it's a zygote or a fetus.
Okay, so I think that
a parasite, by the way.
So if we're looking at the study, what did I say again? It was 73% of people. So that's why I think there should be, instead of legalizing abortion and focusing on abortion, I think we should be focusing on better funding and better research to, giving, if they did happen to, carry the baby to full term, maybe giving better resources for foster care.
I'm gonna go hardcore here. I'm gonna go hardcore here. Fuck that. Let's say all 100% of it was just a woman deciding that she wanted to have an abortion. Boo fucking who? Why is it wrong?
Yeah, and I agree with that much. I think I'm going to go even further, right? I think that this demonstrates to us is that there is a standard that would suggest that every man at the age of 18 should have a reversible vasectomy until he's prepared for a child.
Yeah, it's the man's problem in the first place. If the man were not fucking disgusting and using women, then this wouldn't even be a problem in the first place.
So I agree with you guys on that 100%. I think you should, instead of wearing a bulletproof vest, take the bullets out of the chamber, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The world would be better if it was all women. Like, women are drastically better than men. Men, there's no such thing as men. There's just women's children.
Okay.
Well, I think the issue is here is that these are all idealistic ideas, right? But how do we stop? Let's use an arbitrary name. How do we stop the Kardashian from having the 14th abortion of the month, right? Because she can afford it and she just doesn't feel like having it. Like what do we put in to stop that from happening?
I have no idea.
Well, that's the problem, right? So and I'm not trying to tell you have to have a solution, right? You're young, you have plenty of years, and if you want to get into politics, absolutely, these are things you have to think of, right? But
I do not want to get into politics. This shit sucks. You guys just tricked me completely. I don't want to do this again.
No. I suggest you, and I'm going to be entirely real with you. I suggest you do this. When I first was doing this, I was losing debates left and right. I was constantly losing debates. And the thing is that this is going to help sharpen your mind and help you come up with better opinions that you can then put out into this world, right? Because when we allow ourselves to be silent, when we allow ourselves to live in an echo chamber, that's how we get World War II, right?
Oh,
and I know I just went extreme there, but I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of just doing this, because I am fourth in the state of Kansas right now for speech and debate. I think I really just do this to kind of sharpen my mind, kind of help me out with talking to people better. So I do have to go, but I do really appreciate both of you guys, hearing me out sometimes, and then also giving me new ideas to, think on. So I do appreciate it, even if you, sir, were a bit rude.
Oh, I'm always rude. I'm an asshole against genocide, rape, and slave condoners. 100%. I'm an absolute douchebag to people that defend that stuff.
Next time you come up, I'll give you some homework. Actually, I really want you to come back.
I'll definitely be back. I'll follow both of you guys, so I'll know next time when you guys are live.
Absolutely. Next time when you come back, though, I want to give you some homework. Research what a syllogism is, and come up with a logical syllogism in which you can use to prove your God.
Okay. Yeah. I'll be back with it.
Hell yeah.
Adios.
Okay, see you guys then. Bye.
Oh my God.
Well, we turned it into a positive call at the end.
You did. Good job. I'm proud of you. That was all you.
was,
I wanted to go back to slavery and fucking
I know.
nail
The
that
issue
shit.
is, well, the issue is she was never going to like. So the moment they say that it just depends on the time, and the moment that you present to them is your God, the same today, tomorrow, and yesterday, and then they still go into it and say it's a different time. They're not ready for that conversation. They can't have that conversation because they're not going to think logically about it.
Yeah. It's oh my god. Oh my goat, Cody. Wait, when I'm saying God, I'm meaning the one true God, Odin.
Also update. I am officially a satanic priest.
Amen, sister.
I filled in all the information for it, and I got my
Hell yeah.
pendant.
So if I ever get married again, you're gonna be the one doing it.
Yeah, I mean, my last marriage was by a Dudist priest. That was fun.
By a fucking what?
Dudist.
Huh. Okay.
It's exactly like the marriage ceremonies you would expect, except for there's a lot more dude being said.
In the name of all dudes.
Yeah, that was it right there. Do you take this dude
to be your dude?
Yeah, exactly.
And a holy matrimony of dudeness.
Exactly. we couldn't find a priest of Hecate on short notice.
Oh man, so many comments. Oh my god, why does this keep coming off? What the fuck? My microphone is not having a very good time. A relationship that harms one. Yeah, when it comes to abortion, first and foremost, it's not a human. I mean, it will be. But if you think that's wrong, stop eating eggs. It's gonna be a life. How dare you eat that life? Like, it's literally, by all classifications, a parasite. By all classifications. To the degree of killing the host.
The only light, I mean, super light pushback I'd give on the parasite thing is because genetically a parasite would expect a certain lifestyle that was certain like life cycle that we don't get out of that. But that's just me being pedantic.
We are eating periods. Oh, that's so gross. I mean, I don't, but yeah, y'all can keep doing that. Fucking weirdos.
Listen, we've all earned our Red Wings. That's all I'm gonna say.
We've all what?
We've all earned our Red Wings.
Red Wings.
Yeah, it's when she's on her time of the month and you go down. When you pull back, when you pull back, it looks like
Did Cody say married again? I was just assumed he was you and in college or just finished college. Huh?
Oh, YouTube chat. That's me. I'm the loser that's been married twice, but I'm now not married. So
yeah, Rafis has been married twice. I was married once. How great women are, and yet, damn, Cody being all about how great women are, and yet what? Let me up, Jaden.
Catholic, you can't help her unless she submits to Rome.
I know non-denominational arguments and ways to talk to them to help them see, like, even like with the whole slave thing, just point out that Jesus says that Moses gave the laws of divorce that God didn't intend it, yet it's the same language and terminology being used. So one could make an argument that Moses is doing the same thing for slavery, and that it's not actually from God himself.
If I'm not mistaken, within one of my notes, Moses. Were you able to get my notes, or did you just?
Yeah, I was able to pull it up and download it. Yeah, thank God.
Right. Sorry if you can hear me fiddling with my plates. I just got a whole bunch of Halloween plates.
Ooh, yes, dude, I'm ready for Halloween. God,
Halloween. Spirit Halloween opened up early in my city this year.
Collapse did not like the Red Wings.
Who didn't like the? I mean,
Collapse.
Even CT would sail the Red Sea, and that's on God.
listen. I'm not.
CT, would you?
Collapse. I don't have fear in my heart. I don't know what you have fear. You're afraid of what the red can do to you. I embrace it.
Got quite a few people in chat stating God is real. You should request up, Canyon. Jesus has
Especially
25,000 manuscripts.
Especially since they've got a friendly up here that can help them out if it gets too bad.
One second. How many copies of Harry Potter are in circulation?
Oh, I fucking love Harry Potter.
There are 600 million manuscripts of Harry Potter, so therefore Hogwarts.
It's real.
There's more manuscripts for Harry Potter than Jesus, so.
You don't fuck with other people's blood. Collapse is screaming about the Red Wings.
Collapse is fun. You don't fuck with other people's blood.
I posted a new YouTube video finally.
Good boy!
Alright, bucko.
Alright, buckaroo!
I've been very lazy.
I prefer my Potter shaved. Oh.
God.
Massive hog in bio. Jesus Christ. I forget how dirty as shit my fucking chats are.
Well, we've kind of just... Well, the TikTok one's just having a full-on debate down there. I see that's not a sufficient condition. And then we're just talking about whatever the fuck.
Mary. Oh, I thought Mary was a friendly. Probably because you have no source. That's not sufficient condition. Okay, source that pregnancies are considered parasitic in evolutionary biology. Okay, yeah, I'll help you out there. What? Oops. Parasitic. Of an organism living as a parasite. Cool. So, parasite. Parasite. Definition. Okay, that's going to be an organism that lives in or on an organism of another species.
Of
and
another
benefits,
species.
Yeah, that there's another definition that allows for same species as well. Many parasites are of same. And benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. All right. How much nutrients does a fetus require from host?
I did also read, though, that there are benefits that the fetus gives to the mother during a pregnancy, especially
there's benefits for parasites too. The parasite doesn't want the host to die. It's got to do something to keep it alive.
Yeah, I was more of getting at, can we say that could we technically say that a pregnancy is a parasitic relationship? Maybe, but I don't think we can classify the fetus as a parasite, if that makes sense.
I hear you totally. It really depends who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to somebody scientifically or like debating it, I'm going to call a fetus a parasite. If I'm talking to someone who is 100% pro-abortion, I'm going to call it a parasite. If I'm talking to someone that is purposefully having a baby, I'm going to call it a baby.
You just like twisting that knife in people, don't you?
1000%, yes. 1000%. I am here to twist knives.
It's why I tell a lot of people who want to get into the Christians and atheist debate space, like, don't, unless you got really, 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 really thick skin, and you can just know when to ignore comments like that and just get to the meat of the substance. But because you're not alone.
Oh yeah,
I grew up on debating on Reddit atheist spaces.
Oof. Oof.
So
hats off to you, brother. God damn, he dealt with the original KG. Holy shit.
Whenever someone tells you the parasite has to be of a different species, point to the anglerfish.
Yeah, so many parasites are of the same species.
Males literally connect themselves.
Yo,
the females.
Canyon, you keep on like spamming shit. If you want to have a discussion about it and prove your god, you can request up. Nobody in chat is taking literally any of the stupid verses you're saying as real, because also in the first chapter of Harry Potter, it says the address of where Harry Potter and the Dudleys live. That doesn't mean jack fucking shit. It's a fairy tale. So I don't give a fuck about the verses you're providing. What I would care about is whether the verses are true to reality. That is what I would care about. And yes, your book says that the foolish are going to be those that don't believe in a god. My book says that you're foolish for believing in a god. So whose book is right? You see what I'm saying? Like, the internal critique doesn't fucking matter to me. I don't care what the book says. I don't care when it says it. I don't care who supposedly said it. I care whether it's true.
All right, I got you. We want to read a book? Here, 1 second. I'm going to open this book. All right. William Wilson. Let me call myself, for the present, William Wilson. There we go.
Obviously, don't value truth if you twist definition. I don't, actually. Every single definition that I bring up is from the Oxford Dictionary. So you can cry harder in my chat. I appreciate the engagement. It helps with the For You page.
Also, terms don't have objectively true definitions. Like, terms
That's
just
true.
mean what the person says. Like, even the dictionary, it doesn't give the objective definition. It gives the
words are
colloquial.
not objective. Yeah,
it gives the colloquial definition. So technically, depending on how pedantic and
52
asinine
Meredith.
one wants to get.
And Meredith, let's say that I have 5 viewers. That's 5 more than you. Cry harder. Thanks for the engagement.
But
yeah, typically
when you
different
really get
doesn't
down to-
mean 100% always different species, Meredith. You need to learn context clues. I can offer you a book that will teach you context clues and critical thinking. 5 viewers. Yeah, let's say I have 5 viewers. I am still talking to people. I am still destroying the ever-living fuck out of indoctrination. I'm still making women, or people, I apologize, named Meredith pissed off for being stupid. I'm still destroying and obliterating absolute dog shit arguments for God.
I get happy when I get 5 viewers.
You make me happy. No, you are not. Meredith, thank you so much for the engagement. Such a sweetie. Discord has much better debaters than TikTok. I do agree.
Discord is where we get Phil Bros. So
that is where.
Disagree.
Evidence. You made me turn from atheism to Christianity. Oh, sure you did. You were one of the first people ever on my stream ever a year ago, so thank you for coming back, you absolute fan. TikTok lives have you adding randoms? It does. I make everyone happy. Carrie, you make everyone happy. Atheists and believers are unknowing. It really depends on what we're talking about, because atheist just means without belief in God or gods, and believers is just going to be talking about someone that does have a belief in God or gods. So
it's also going to depend on your standards for epistemic or your epistemic standards, I should say, because like one of my favorite things to point out.
Plumber. Don't shit on plumbers.
One of my favorite things to point out is people who are like, oh, you got to know that you know. Okay, then that means that I got to know that I know that I know, which then means that I got to know that I know that I know that I know, which then gets into that vicious infinite regress.
Epistemology.
And,
gotta love it.
Yeah. So it's weird.
All right, we might have a guest. Let's see what's going on here.
Yay.
That's a nice name. I love the name Natalie. That's a great name.
I do also want to make this clear. I don't know why they're insulting 35
Hello,
viewers.
Natalie. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. Are you over the age of 18?
Yes.
Wonderful. And which religion do you follow?
I'm Christian. I just got into religion like 2 months ago.
Oh, shit. What were you prior to be following Christianity?
Okay, so before I got turned towards God, I had a lot of hate towards Christianity because I was atheist. And
Well, that's not a good reason to hate a religion.
Yeah, I know, but
And-
I just got made fun of by Christians and stuff. And
if I may Natalie, real quick, before you go into like a defense or an argument for God,
Yeah.
2 months, like, and this is coming from a Catholic, a fellow Christian.
Yeah.
I'll be
2 months.
nice, CT. I'll be nice.
I was just gonna say 2 months of, you want to be careful because 2 months of study is
Not shit.
there's 2,000 years of history of Christianity if you include, from the time of Christ to today, and there's
Yeah.
2,000 years of thought and history and arguments that you're just not going to be able to
Lots of
even
arguments.
scratch the surface in 2 months.
But I want to answer questions for you
Yes.
in the nicest way possible.
Oh, well, I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. By the way, what is your birth year? Damn.
Oh,
Good call out, Sunflower. Good call out.
but yeah, I'm always cautious whenever I love the fact that they're on fire and ready to share, but it's just like, hold on before you go to our atheism. Like, actually look at, do your homework first.
Yeah, Trixie, I agree with you. When they say they were once atheists, they were never skeptics. I definitely agree that like a mass amount of Christians that say they were once atheist, I definitely agree that they were most likely an atheist, as in they didn't have a belief in God or gods. But I don't agree that they were necessarily skeptics, because atheist just means you don't have the belief in a god or gods. You can be the dumbest, ignorant, arrogant atheist or theist imaginable, right? So, yeah, I'm sure that she like grew up in a Christian household or something of the sorts.
Yeah, you could be P Mars or you could be Cody.
Goddamn.
I mean, we were literally just talking about our atheism, so
That's valid. Jesus. I actually, when I first started TikTok, I did post quite a bit on Reddit for like maybe a few weeks.
Oh my god. You're an original Reddit atheist. I can officially call you that. I'm gonna call you that from now
I started on TikTok, but I went to Reddit to get views.
Well, that sucks.
I would post
You know
my
what?
videos on Reddit.
You know what's crazy is I mostly hung out in our debate and atheists because I got banned from our atheism, which I take as a badge of honor.
There you go. Yeah, I am too.
But I would hang out in debate and atheists. Now, granted, still a lot of hate and vitriol and whatnot from there. But I was popular with like 2 or 3 well-known users, and even one of the mods appreciated my contributions on the site, which,
Is there anywhere you go, CT, that you are unappreciated?
Outside.
Right here. I'm gonna fight him.
Well, I would probably say radical traditional Catholic communities, but I don't go there much because, well, actually, it's funny. There was our traditional Catholic.
Mary, you should request
that. I don't even like. I never knew that subreddit existed. I don't even know what I did, but all of a sudden I get a notification saying that I'm banned from traditional Catholicism. And I even sent a message to the mod saying, hey, I'm just confused what rule I broke because I've never interacted with this community. I got no idea what's going on. Like, I didn't even know this community even existed. What happened? And I got muted from communicating with the mods for a month just for asking that question.
Crazy.
I have 2 points. What's up?
I did want to ask, because what Mari's stuck on down in the comments.
Yeah,
is
I want to
that,
get her up.
Yeah, biologically, the fetus, or I don't really know what it is referencing, is considered an actual parasite or not.
they're not technically considered parasites, but there's like when you move the definitionally perhaps, but biologically no. It's one of those complex things. It's but I was gonna say I started on one of the chans, and I know why you were banned from the Catholic traditionalist group, because your name's Catholic Thinker, and Catholic traditionalists can't think.
Which is funny because they hold Thomas Aquinas in extremely high regards.
But that makes sense. If you've read his work, it makes sense. I'm sorry.
What's funny is because like they hold like to a very strict understanding of outside of the church there is no salvation. Which, by the way, that phrase comes from someone who is condemned by the Catholic Church, but that's a whole other tangent.
Yeah.
But they hold to a very strict idea of outside of the church there is no salvation, and they hated Vatican II for being more, I forgot the term for it, but basically more open to communication with our Protestant brothers and sisters, instead of just being outright, oh, you're a heretic, burn in hell. Like, no, let's actually have a communication with our brothers and sisters.
Fair.
If you look at the writings of Thomas Aquinas, especially on like implicit faith, he is talking very in line with Vatican II, and even Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen, who lived and died before Vatican II, and it is like one of the most well-spoken Catholic theologians in recent history, to the point that he had a prime time spot on television. Like, imagine where he won like 2 awards for having like the #1 TV show.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine a Catholic on television. Nah, I'm sorry, I can't help it.
Well, this is why I was saying if you want to engage in interfaith discourse with non-believers, you got to have thick skin.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm getting at is if you ask them, they'll say they have a great respect for Fulton J. Sheen. But when you actually point to some of the ideas he said, because, like, for example, he expressly said, every religion has some truth in it, but it's only Catholicism that has the fullness of truth.
Yeah.
Which is affirmed in one of the Vatican II documents, which they critique and condemn as contradicting some document from a pope before Vatican II. But Fulton Sheen said the same thing.
Right. No, I get you. I'm a little behind on my Catholic knowledge. I haven't been a Catholic for quite a few years. I just all I
Aroma
can
of
add
Saints.
is,
All the Abrahamic gods are the same god with different stories. Why do you keep spreading the same bullshit arguments over and over? It's so boring.
but even if they're not, like, let's take a moment and assume that they're not. So what? Like, you believe in the same thing up to a certain point, right?
Well, there was a letter from a pope that lived around the time of Thomas Aquinas. I want to say the letter was written early thousands, like 1050 something. That says, to an Islamic king, for we worship the same God. So this isn't even a Vatican II idea. This has been around for millennia.
I don't think I have to get to my computer to pull it up exactly.
Meredith, Mary, you both lose. A fetus acts in parasitic ways. It's a parasite. You lost.
And Midnight just
How's
did
it feel to
provide
lose?
some kind of a source.
So, man, I want to ask this question, but I know it's going to be an hour tangent. I know what it is.
Oh my god, the lack of desire I have.
What's the question?
I can't.
Ask the question, and if Cody tells me I can't answer it, I won't answer it.
So I have always said that it seems to me that because I forgot what pope it was. They put a pope on trial after he died.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of that situation, and he was found to be like incompetent.
You're
or
wrong,
something
Meredith.
like that.
It's sucking all of the nutrients from the mother to the degree where she dies. That's a parasite. Cry harder. Thanks for the engagement. The For You page likes it.
Yeah, but given that information, How do you continue to explain the continuous apostolic succession after him? Because if he was found to be, I can't remember the exact findings. If I was at my computer, I could pull it up. I think it was short. The long and short is, I believe it's something about incompetent, right? How could his choice of his successor been considered valid?
Because it's not based on the competency of the individual person doing the succession. Also, I'm not sure at the time of the particular pope that you're talking about that the pope was choosing their next successor. That was definitely early church, but not by the medieval period. At that point, you had a more elective process, a little bit closer to the modern period, but still wasn't the same. And so the issue isn't necessarily with the person in and of themselves, but the question of the office. It'd be kind of like someone trying to say, well, because President Trump is incompetent as a presidency, that means that anyone that comes after him, even if the country elects someone else, they don't count because of how incompetent President Trump is.
Mary,
no, the
if
office
you
is
studied bio, you wouldn't be saying any of what you're saying. If you wish to request up and talk with Ravis, who actually does study bio, you can do that and get absolutely cooked.
I'm gonna loosely agree with him is the problem, because it's like definitionally yes, biologically no. That's kind of like my
I can grant that.
But yeah, so it had less to do, and I think the trial wasn't about whether he was competent or not. It was whether or not he professed heresy, and if I remember correctly, I think the conclusion of the trial was that he did profess heresy, but the church does make two distinctions.
Meredith, that's a straw man of what I just said. Biologically, it is defined as a parasite. But because people like you exist, ignorant, stupid people that are incapable of actual discussion, that just want to hide in comment sections and just fucking hide like cowards. Because of people like you existing, they're not able to stay that because it'll just piss everyone off. But by all definitions and in the way that it acts, works, reacts to everything, it is a parasite. It kills its host. It cannot survive without its host. It has to live inside of its host for its survival. All of those definitions make it, by literal definition, a parasite. I'm sorry that you're dumb. Books are free at your nearest library. Have fun.
But the church does make two distinctions on types of heresies. There's formal and material heretic. Someone that is a formal heretic would be someone who, like Origen, who is a church father, or at least a contested church father, who professed universalism before it was condemned by the Catholic Church and died before it was condemned by the Catholic Church. So what he professed was heretical, but because he wasn't in rebellion to the church, he's not a heretic. So that is a formal heretic, whereas a material heretic would be someone like, say, Martin Luther, who knew what he was doing was against the church, knew what he was doing was condemned by the church, and refused to recant from his position. So one can be a formal heretic and not be guilty of sin and still be in good standing with the church. So even if the pope that was dug up and put on trial was found as a heretic, the worst charge that the church could give to him is a formal heresy. But I see we got another guess, so I'll shut up.
What is up, Wellness?
Hi there, guys. I just joined. I'm interested in the topic, and yeah, just kind of listening right now.
Yeah, which God do you believe
if
in?
there was a question that was posed, I'd love to talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, which God do you believe in?
Well, for me, it's like I appeal more to deism, right?
Okay.
In other words, there is a conception of, I have a conception of there being something, right, that allows the harmony that we experience in the universe. That thing I cannot point to.
I can.
Right? Say that again?
I can. All the constants that are of descriptions of the universe and how it works. I just pointed to it.
How so?
Yeah, can energy be created?
Well, no.
There you go. Energy can't be created, energy exists, therefore it's always existed. The universe is that from emergent property of energy, all matter emerges from energy. The universe is that just of energy. That's your God, if you want to call it that. Energy can't be created, but energy doesn't have a mind. It did not purposefully make human beings. So there's no reason to believe something created the universe, because the universe is just that, energy.
So you're essentially supposing that the universe
Supposing
has
no,
always
this is scientifically backed. We know this thanks to CMB radiation first and foremost, which is a form of energy.
Say that again.
CMB radiation, 13.8 billion years ago, we're able to see that it started expanding. A hot, dense state of energy started expanding.
Okay. Okay, but my question is, do you believe the causes that we see have, pre-existing causes?
Energy cannot be created. It is the one necessary thing for all things.
Wellness.
Okay,
What Cody is basically saying is, so like effectively what happens in a lot of these conversations is you have a theist and an atheist come up. Both will agree that there needs to be something necessary. Cody is positing what he thinks that necessary thing is. He thinks that's energy.
Yeah.
And has given an argument to show why he thinks it's energy.
Yeah.
You're positing that it's got to be God or something other than energy, yet you've yet to posit a reason why it has to be something other than energy, and why energy can't be that thing, and why it has to be God. So what Cody is asking for you to do is not just, because he's already provided a justification for his position,
Okay.
he's asking you, hey, provide justification why it can't be energy and or why it has to be God.
Yeah.
I understand that. Okay.
Or you could just attack his justification.
That too, that'd be fun.
Okay. Yes. So I don't particularly think it's energy itself, right? The reason being is because energy could be put into a container, right? And let's say for instance
what's
an
the container made
adiabatic
of?
system. Let's say for instance an adiabatic system, right? Imagine
Yeah, what's that made of?
Say that again.
Yeah, what are those things made of? A container and that system?
Atoms, okay.
Energy, yeah. So yeah, energy exists and is the only thing that exists, and all things are emergent properties from energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed. Energy exists, therefore it's always existed. Therefore it wasn't created, therefore there's no God to create it. Thank you.
Okay, so you believe energy to be God then?
No, because God by definition is an all-powerful creator of the universe. The universe is that of energy which cannot be created, therefore it is not God. You can redefine a shoelace as God too if you wish, but I'm not a semantical douchebag, so I don't make things and change definitions to fit my narrative. Energy is not a God. It has no consciousness, it has no will, and it is not all-powerful.
Okay, so you're essentially positing that, you've just said energy cannot be created. And
Correct.
You said that, like the bottle is composed of atoms, right? Which is
Correct.
energy. That bottle was created. That actually goes against your preposition
Incorrect.
of energy.
Matter is an emergent
How
property
so?
of energy.
If a
We can
if you
form and
argue
mold
that
matter. We can also mold and interact with energy. So we can make energy do things. We can't create energy, but we can form it. We can transfer it. We can take matter, which is an emergent property of energy, and form things. So no, we're not creating anything.
Okay, so we're forming, right? So you can form your God.
If you want to redefine energy and redefine the shoelace as God, you can redefine the shoelace as God, but that does not make a shoelace God. Energy is not an all-powerful creator of the universe. God,
So,
by definition, is an all-powerful creator of the universe.
Wellness, this is not something that's going to help you get to the point that you think you're trying to make, because the point that Cody's trying to make is, let's say he and I are talking about, as he said, a shoelace. And I say, well, I call shoelace smorgasbord. And Cody calls shoelace, a shoelace. But we're both pointing to the same thing. So just because I say smorgasbord, it's not, I'm not now claiming a new thing exists. It's just I'm referring to the same thing by a different term. So what you need to do is you need to, because right now, either you both agree that energy exists and energy is the necessary thing that exists, and you're both pointing to the same referent, and at that point it just becomes a matter of disagreeing on what to call it, which
Yeah, just a
is
semantical
uninteresting
issue is
for a
what it
lot of
sounds like.
people. Or you need to show that what you're pointing to when you say God exists, and it explains better than what Cody is pointing to when he says energy. Because either you're pointing to the same referent at which there's no disagreement, or you're not pointing to the same referent, and now you need to argue why your referent is correct.
Imagine we're both pointing to the same reference by, by the descriptions that we've both given, right? One thing that he's essentially saying is that, again, this thing cannot be created. That's one of my definition of, of something that is beyond creation, right? And in that
There
case,
is
I
no
think we
creation.
both.
If you wouldn't mind, real quick, 41's up. If we could just
Oh, that's 40.
cool.
Go for it. Yeah. See, you just input a presupposition fallacy of the creation. No, the universe wasn't created. You said you're a deist. You need to demonstrate that the universe did not exist and was created by something external of the universe, which requires proving that something external of the universe even exists.
Okay, so I believe that there is, if we look at the. Is someone still talking? I can.
It's just background noise. You're good.
Okay, cool. I believe that if you go back and the descending orders of things, there's causes which also have pre-existing causes and so forth, right? And that is something that's empirically observable, right? So why would you think that the concept of energy isn't similar in some sense, though it's though it gives rise to like different things in different ways, right? Don't you think that the element or the substance of that energy can be created?
What's the
No.
first law of thermodynamics? Jesus Christ.
Energy cannot be created nor
There you
destroyed.
go. That's
Okay?
the answer. What the fuck are you on about?
So the thing
So
is,
again, I believe that we're both defining,
You're
the concept of
redefining
No,
God.
energy
no.
as
Wellness.
a god. You are
Okay,
calling
Wellness.
energy
What?
a
how
god.
do you define
God, by
God? I think that's
definition,
where I'm
Oxford
not understanding.
Dictionary is the all-powerful creator of the universe. In philosophy of religion, God, by definition, is the all-powerful creator of the universe. The energy is not an all-powerful nor creator of the universe. You are
And
redefining
the
a
Why is it?
shoelace as a fucking car right now. It is not a car, it is a goddamn shoelace. Energy is not a god,
the
it is energy.
the other thing is that for a lot of people on here, when they're talking about God, they're talking about not just an all-powerful creator of the universe. They're talking about something that has intentions, direction, a mind.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Energy does not have intention, direction, or a mind. And so that's why I was saying, like, either
I
you're
would like.
talking about the same reference, at which point it's just a semantical dispute. But if you think that God has intentionality or direction or has a mind, then you're not talking about the same referent. And what Cody's asking is to demonstrate the existence of a thing that is uncreated that has intentionality and a referent, or intentionality and direction and or a mind.
Yep.
Okay, well, if we look at the universe and
Jesus Christ.
formal formal conditions of understanding, there's things that pre-exist our conception
Let
of
me ask
things,
you
right?
this.
That is time and space. Wait, go on.
Yeah, let me ask you this. If you think that this cause and effect chain is always and universal, what created God?
What?
If I
Oh,
think that it's always universal, is that what you said?
Yeah, because you think it applies to everything, right? There's always a cause and the effect, and there's always a cause and the effect, and that chain
Yeah.
doesn't break. So,
Okay.
what caused God?
The thing is, with God, there's an exception in
Special
that
pleading
God
fallacy. Now your
exists
argument is
as
moot. Your argument means absolutely but fuck nothing now because you used a fallacy. It's a fallacious line of logic. So now what you're going to do is use logic and critical thinking and demonstrate that a God exists.
But you're a deist, right?
Yeah, he's a deist.
Yes.
He could have
You're
made a
deist.
decent argument.
Does God have a being?
Does God have a what?
A being?
No, I don't think so. It's like I can't
What?
point to. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Does God have any identity clause at all? Or essence?
I imagine some level of essence. Yes.
Okay, so God would have a being. What do you think God's being is?
What do you to put it simply, to understand or define God, what are the properties or qualities that are
Attributes.
required for something to have in order for you to call it God?
Omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence.
Can I?
Yeah,
I'm
those
so
three
sorry. I'm
qualities.
gonna derail this real quick. What is so hard for you to accept that there's no being that created energy? Why is that so hard for you to accept?
Yeah, because of the harmony of the universe,
What
right?
causes
And
harmony, brother?
I think they have to do with laws of nature.
Correct. What are the laws of nature?
Like,
You don't have to name them off. I'm saying, like, what makes those? What are they? Why do we talk about them?
well, I think we talk about them because they're universal. They seem to be universal.
Yes. Okay. A law of
Yeah.
nature could be gravity. That's a constant, correct?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah. Mhm.
gravity, you're going to agree with this, is a description of how the universe works, correct?
Okay.
Gravity is what happens when mass gets next to mass. Okay, mass is an emergent property of energy. So this constant is just simply a description of what happens when energy does what energy does. You do not need a magical unicorn behind that. Energy cannot be created, therefore it was not created. Energy is the explanation for all the laws of nature. So you don't need this God. So why do you insist on there having to be some sort of a magical sky fairy?
Sure. One thing is that the laws of gravity change, in space. Would you agree?
Boo-hoo. It is just mass and mass in a space-time curvature based on distance and size. So again, where is God?
The rate at which something falls is not the same as the constant of gravity or what gravity is. So as Cody was saying, but also a more accurate understanding is that gravity is what we describe the effect of mass on the fabric of space-time. And so that effect exists universally wherever there is mass. And because of that, even if you're not feeling the effect of gravity, gravity is still present. But in reality, the gravitational effect of the sun has that distortion of space-time is present throughout the entirety of the solar system. There's even a term for when it becomes negligible.
So what part of gravity does
in,
God have anything to do with?
Wait, what were you saying, Catholic?
Just that gravity is like it's not a case of like where there's rules of gravity here on Earth and then rules of gravity that are different in space. No, the rules of gravity are the same everywhere, even if I'm falling at a particular rate here on Earth and it would be a different rate on Mars. What dictates that rate is universally the same, and that's the gravitational constant. That's the law of gravity. The law of gravity is not that things fall with 9.8 meters per second. That's not what the law of gravity is. The law of gravity is about the interaction of matter and mass with space-time.
Okay, yeah, so it's about, how we define it, other than it being a thing in and of itself. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
No, what I'm saying is that what you were trying to get at as far as like, oh, well, gravity is one way on Earth and another way in outer space
I
is
just
just
mean that it behaves
scientifically.
differently, right?
No, it behaves the same. Are you talking about like the 0G and the astronauts floating on like the space station and they're not experiencing gravity? Like, is that what you're trying to?
Not necessarily that, but I think.
Is that an example of what you were thinking of, though? Like, even if that's not exactly what you were thinking, is that an example that you would say of gravity working one way on Earth and a different way in space?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so the thing about like with the astronauts in 0G, what is actually happening is they are falling towards the Earth. They are falling at a rate of 9.8 meters per second. I don't know if that's the actual number, but whatever that rate is, they're at that rate towards the Earth, but they are also moving towards the horizon so fast that they keep missing the Earth. It is quite literally the line from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy of the trick to flying is to trip and forget to fall. They are experiencing zero gravity, not because there is no gravity. They are experiencing the effects of gravity, but they are falling towards the Earth, but they're also moving forwards faster than they're falling. So they keep missing the Earth. That's all orbits are, is just free fall.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
God has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't particularly say that, but
We could go to foundationals somewhere and be like, well, the foundationals ground what math is, and math grounds what gravity is. But these foundationals, they don't have explanatory properties, so they just be a brute fact. So we just say that gravity is somewhat of a brute fact.
Well, like I was saying, what the issue is here is wellness. Like what you were doing before is what I was talking about, and you're still doing it a little bit. And I don't think it's intentional because this is something that took me a while to realize what was going on. You and Cody, like the argument you were running for is, hey, there has to be some like you can't have this explanatory and go on forever. There has to be something that is necessary. There has to be something necessary in order to explain this causal chain. Cody agrees with that statement. Where the two of you disagree on is you want to say, hey, this thing that explains this causal chain is an omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient being that I call God. And Cody's saying, well, no, I call it energy, and I can point to how, because energy can't be created or destroyed and everything is an emergent property of energy, that perfectly explains this chain without me needing to posit this omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Another reason as to why I mentioned those, that qualia of a cause is because of morality itself. I do believe that morality, right?
Wait,
so before you get sidetracked with the argument from morality. Before you get sidetracked with the argument from morality, because I can see Cody grinning like a shark, ready to smell blood. Before you get sidetracked, the point I'm making, the point that I'm making, and you're going to want to stay here for a moment, unless you want to completely abandon this line of argument, is what you have to do. And if you want an example of a decent attempt, like I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I have something that Cody agrees is making a decent attempt at showing why energy isn't a satisfactory explanation and why it's got to be something else.
Yeah.
But so what you have to do is like, okay, so we both agree that there has to be something necessary that explains everything else and is the source of this causal chain. Here's what is required that enables it to be that necessary thing. And this is the properties that is required for it to have, and you're able to give that in a logical argumentative structure. Cody's done that for energy. You haven't done that yet for God. You're still stuck on step one of, okay, let me prove that there has to be a necessary thing. Cody already agrees with you there. But you're wanting to skip step two, which is showing that that necessary thing has to be God. Right now, you're just positing it. And it's the common mistake and common critique that people do of the 5 ways of Thomas Aquinas. But Thomas Aquinas never intended the 5 ways to be used for non-believers, which is why he makes this step of like, there must be a first cause, and this is what we mean when we say God. But if you actually look at his philosophical work, he actually goes into much deeper than just, there's a first cause, and that first cause is God. At best, he's using the 5 ways as a way to justify his definition of God, not to prove God exists.
You cut out there for a second. You said just the last part.
That the 5 ways are Thomas Aquinas's, and the only reason why I bring that up is because the argument you were using sounded very similar to it, so I'm making an assumption that you were inspired partially by some of the arguments made by Thomas Aquinas, but Thomas Aquinas' 5 ways were not used to prove God to a non-believer. They were a way to justify his definition of God to believers, people who already believed a God exists.
Exactly. I'm not trying to necessarily prove God.
Well, that's what Cody asked for you to do.
Yeah, how can I change my mind on not believing in a God if you don't demonstrate a God?
And does this demonstration have to appeal to a physical experience
Yes,
to you? Or?
you are talking about physical, empirical things. So yes. How am I supposed to prove that vapes exist, a physical thing in a physical world, if I don't physically show you it? That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Again, it's like by that definition, for me, it's like I can't tell you, okay, here's God, I can point to God. No, I cannot do that.
Then why should I believe that this God exists?
Well, if you believe, if you want to understand, like intelligent design, right?
There is no design, and there is no intelligence behind it. We know how the constants work. We have the theories for them.
Okay. How do you think humans came to be?
Evolution, brother. We have a mass amount of evidence, empirical evidence for this. We know this to be a fact. Your God can be real and evolution at the same time. Evolution's a fact, whether you believe in God or not.
I believe in evolution, and I believe in God.
So here's the problem. Here's what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that this is a metaphysical claim that you can't empirically prove. Here's the thing. I agree to a degree. God is a metaphysical being. What is metaphysics, right? Metaphysics are going to be abstracts. Abstract questions, abstract reasonings. Something metaphysical is what is the purpose of life. It's not something I can empirically point at, right? But it is something I could test. I could empirically test if there is at all a purpose to life, right? We can empirically test certain things like that. But whether a unicorn does or does not exist is a metaphysical question. And then we could say, if this unicorn existed in our world, would it have scales or would it have fur? That's metaphysical. But if I say this unicorn does exist and it's in my backyard, that's no longer metaphysical. It is now empirical and requires empirical demonstration. So what you have is, you said, this God could possibly exist. Cool. That's a metaphysical thing we could talk about using logic. If this God existed in our world, could it have these attributes? That's a metaphysical line of reasoning we could go down. But you're not saying that. You are saying this God exists and created the empirical universe as we know it. That is not a metaphysical claim. That is an empirical claim that you need to empirically demonstrate.
Okay, so in short, you're essentially saying that the God that I'm, defining has to be physical.
Correct. Did your God create the earth? He doesn't have to be physical, but this is an empirical world. So if I do anything, if I grab a vape, I am empirically interacting with it. It cannot move without an empirical interaction.
So if I may, and Cody, feel free to correct me if I'm misrepresenting your standards, but I think, just based on the way that, on our interactions and everything else, Cody, when you're asking for, empirical evidence. It's not necessarily, you would prefer it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be grab God, drag him down here, and say, here he is.
You do not have to
What
physically
Cody
show
is-
me a photo.
Yeah, what Cody is asking for is starting from empirical data and empirical evidence, drawing a line of evidence and a line of logic and reason that connects that empirical data, that empirical evidence to the conclusion. Very similarly to like how before we got the first photographs of the black hole, we knew they existed from the empirical data.
So to further add into that, something like you saying like the Earth being created or something, I know that it works through gravity, through empirical data. You now need to demonstrate that a god somehow did it, or that the universe was somehow created, etc. You got to provide a causal mechanism linking to God as the cause.
Okay. Yes. So there is formal intuitions. I mean, there is things that are formal within intuition, and those things require, space and time, right? Space and time aren't things that can be created, right? Space and time isn't necessarily energy, right?
Time is just a measurement of change, brother.
Necessitate. Say that again.
Time is just a measurement of change. What do you're it seems to me that you're trying
And
to talk
spa-
about
and-
time,
and-
space-time, as if it's some mystical thing that we can't grasp, but that's just not true.
I'm not saying we can't grasp it. I'm saying that
We can point at it, we can test
concept
it,
of
we can interact with it. Like, this isn't anything that has to do with God. So for space-time, you need to demonstrate how you know that a god has anything to do with it.
I was appealing to that. Okay, now I just kind of lost my train of thought. But my idea that I was going at was that space and time, right, aren't energy necessarily.
So,
Would you agree?
So here's the thing: space and time, as distinct separations, don't exist. Space-time, a singular thing, the fabric of space-time, does exist. What space is measuring is 3 dimensions, and time is measuring change. It's measuring the quote-unquote 4th dimension, the dimension of change, the dimension of difference. But so they don't exist as an individual thing. They are abstractions and ways of measuring.
Yeah, there are dimensions. We have 4 dimensions in this world: height, length, width, and time as the 4th dimension.
Okay. Yeah. Where
All of that exists in the
space-time.
Where do they come from?
Singularity. Where does it come from?
The singularity, brother. It was a hot, dense state of energy. When energy expanded into what we have now as what we call the universe, made up of matter and energy, it didn't come from anywhere because energy can't be created. Therefore, it didn't come from anywhere. It's always existed.
Yes, absolutely. But it does need a medium, right? And that is space.
No,
that's what I'm trying to say. That energy has to be somewhere. It has to be somewhere, and that's space.
Yeah, the quantum field.
And so here's the thing, Wellness, is there's 2 different worldviews that you're going to encounter. It sounds like you're appealing to something that I personally hold to, which is, the existence of the simples, where like you eventually get to this purely foundational state. From what I understand, most physicists and a lot of people are now leaning more towards what's called priority monism, which is that simples don't exist. The most foundational thing is that which is the universe. So it possesses all of the parts, and each mixture of parts that excludes other parts, so that isn't the universe, is dependent on the universe possessing all of these parts. So the priority monist is going to hold that what is the foundational, the thing that we can't go further back from, isn't a purely simple thing. It is the most complex thing. And then we get different complexities from different arrangements within that maximally complex, maximally particular thing. So your argument will work really well for someone like myself or someone who doesn't hold a priority monism, but a lot of the people you're going to encounter do hold to priority monism. So you just appealing, well, now energy is dependent on this more foundational thing. Well, no, like their claim is that the entirety of the whole is the foundational thing.
Okay, from that point of view, then again, I think I don't know if that's what the host believes, that that there isn't that their whole foundation essentially predicated upon just their being, right? Like energy existing, right? Because for me, I was going back to this, the simple idea, if you will, right? Not that it's simple by definition, but in that it's fundamental to reality and
Energy,
understanding
correct.
reality.
Yeah, and so something can be foundational and fundamental without being simple. That's the point that I was trying to make. Cody is appealing to energy as the foundational thing, but you and I view the foundational thing as necessarily being simple.
Here, let me
Cody
break
doesn't.
it down with Spinoza. Okay, nothingness can't have any attributes or exist, correct? Nothingness doesn't exist, it has no attributes, nothing can come from some nothingness. Something can't come from nothingness, right?
Yeah.
So that means something had to have always existed for our existence, right?
Okay.
We know through empirical testing, second law of thermodynamics, the law of conservation of energy, that energy cannot be created. Energy does exist. Something had to have always existed. Energy can't be created and does exist. Therefore, it has always existed. There is no need to input a God there. That is the foundation. Everything comes from energy, period. Unless you can demonstrate energy being interacted with by a God somehow, or that energy is somehow, at some point, did not exist and was created, you need to demonstrate that. There is no justification to believe that a God had anything to do with anything.
There's a secret third way, but I'll keep that for my own research.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, no, like it's on my channel. Like, so Cody is aware of it. I was just being cheeky with Cody for ignoring my point that I've shared with him before. But no, like the main point is that there are many ways to address Cody's claim.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going back to the idea of space, right? Because I think it's a form of intuition, right?
You
That
want to be
allows
careful
us
appealing to intuitions and seemings. Like, that is a very contested.
It seems to me God doesn't exist,
controversial.
therefore God doesn't exist. Like, that's
Yeah.
stupid. I don't give a fuck about what you think. I care about facts. You cannot intuit something into existence. Just because it seems like a unicorn exists doesn't mean a unicorn does exist.
Of course, but these intuitions can't just be.
You want to know the base intuition you should be having right now? Energy can't be fucking created. There you go. Where's God?
Okay, thermodynamics, but the idea that I'm getting at is that space and time allow us to even intuit in the first place.
Time is the measurement of change, of which energy already exists and is capable of change and is always changing. Space is of which the energy takes up. That it, again, has always existed.
Okay, so space has always existed.
Yeah,
correct?
energy cannot be created. It has always existed.
Okay, is space and energy different to you?
Space-time, brother. Holy shit.
Okay, space-time, yes, that's one thing.
Space-time is emergent from energy. Energy exists in a space, and the time is the measurement of it doing things.
Wellness. I know what you're trying to do. It's not going to work because, like, for Cody, like, you're trying to say, well,
absolutely,
it can't.
I can already see it's not going to work because.
No. It's because you're not understanding what Cody's trying to say. So you're trying to get Cody to acknowledge, well, energy is dependent on space-time. Therefore, it can't be the most foundational.
I want to make it make more sense. Space-time is one thing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can a changeless state become a changed state?
Say that again.
Can a changeless state become change into a state of change.
Did you say can a change of state or can a changeless state?
Yeah, changeless. Can a changeless state change into a state of change?
No.
No. So therefore, change has always existed, i.e. space-time has always existed. Energy cannot be created. Energy exists, therefore it has always existed in space-time. Therefore,
Okay,
your argument means fucking nothing right now, dude. You got to demonstrate how energy or space-time was fucking created by this magical unicorn.
Yeah, is space-time equivalent to energy to you?
Oh my fucking God, what did I say?
No. So wellness, this is what I was trying to say, is you are trying to get Cody to agree to some kind of foundational, simple thing that exists. Cody holds to, at best, or at worst, depending on your interpretation, interdependency, where energy and space-time both eternally existed, interdependent on each other,
yes,
to become this independent thing that necessarily existed, that is comprised of parts and is not foundationally simple. While it's not completely priority monism, that's what I was trying to get at and help you understand, that you're arguing from a metaphysical worldview that Cody doesn't share, and now you are butting heads over not whether or not God exists, but which metaphysical worldview y'all should be operating under.
Which we can do that, but you gotta be intellectually honest and state, okay, let's argue about this. You should believe my metaphysics because. Or if you want to keep talking about God, you can say God created energy and I know this because of. You have to fucking pick a lane though. You're like really struggling here.
Okay, first off, I think Catholic, I think you were saying something I didn't quite get in the end, because both of you guys were talking at the same time.
I'm trying to simplify what he's saying to you.
You're saying that I need to show you that God created energy. If
you
if
do not
God
need to physically, but yes, energy can't be created. This we both know for a fucking fact. You cannot go from a changeless state to a state of change without change. Therefore, being in a changed state requires change eternally being. Therefore, energy and space-time has always existed. If you don't agree, you need to demonstrate that.
Yeah. Simply put, you're saying change has always been. Correct?
Duh.
Okay. And you're saying that I don't necessarily need to point to any physical thing, but I need to explain it in a way that...
If God has physically interacted, then yes, you do.
Appeals. If God what?
If God physically interacted in a degree of physically making something physical, then yes, you need to physically prove it. If you're incapable, then you need to concede that there is no demonstration of a God. Therefore, there's no actual reason for me to change my mind and believe in a God. That's the equivalent of me believing in a fairy tale.
Okay, I was initially appealing to the simple idea, which is the notion
sucks. I've shut down all of your thoughts so fucking fast, and you keep running back to them as if they're going to somehow get better. You need to provide something of substance.
Again, initially that was my idea, right, of going back to space-time, but
there you
Catholic,
go. Space-time
I think, made
exists.
an important distinction. Okay.
There you go. Like, what are you arguing for? Space-time exists. You can't go from a changeless state to a state of changing. Therefore, it had to have always existed as a state of change. Energy can't be created. Therefore, it's always existed. What is your fucking point? Where does God come into this equation?
Well, one of the things that I was trying to ask you actually was whether there was a distinction between energy and space-time.
How could energy exist without space to exist in? I'm answering your question. How could energy exist without a space for it to inhabit? That's stupid. There had to have always been a space. If change, i.e. the measurement of time, i.e. space-time, has always existed because you can't go from a changeless state to a state of change, then space and time, space-time, has always existed. What are you not tracking? I've explained this 7 times.
Again, can I talk now?
I answered you. You did talk.
Okay, what I'm saying is, it's like I understand your conception. It's like I understand your idea. It's like I really do.
These are empirically proven. It's not just an idea.
I'm alluding to something empirical, right? Because that's what you
No, you're not.
want
You're
to...
alluding to a magical fairy creating space, time, and energy, and yet you're incapable of demonstrating that possible at all. I don't need to know
That's
jack
because you're
shit about
asking for
shit.
physical demonstration.
Listen, I don't need to know.
Physical
Yeah, for certain
demonstration,
fucking
yeah.
things, you need to physically demonstrate them. If you're not able to physically demonstrate it, then there's no reason for you to fucking believe in it. It's that fucking simple. You want it to be real, which is why you're fucking struggling here. You are having cognitive dissonance. You are incapable of accepting how stupid it is to believe. So you keep running in circles because you're not fucking comprehending it.
Yeah, okay.
When you're incapable of demonstrating it, you should have the fucking intellectual honesty to change your fucking mind. If it doesn't make sense, if it is not logical, if there is no demonstration at all, you should not believe it. Space-time was not created. Energy was not created. You should not believe that they were created. Unless you can demonstrate that they were.
Again, I think those are definitions of things, right? Insofar as demonstration is considered, it's like we have to go back to the definitions, and I do believe
I'm
this
not doing
conception of
semantic
God has
bullshit
always
with you.
been... Well, I think it'll help us understand each other better.
I think what would help better is if you studied a little bit of philosophy and logic, to be honest. You're really struggling with the idea that energy can't be fucking created, and you're trying to demonstrate that it can be created without demonstrating that it can be created. You're literally saying this fucking physical thing exists. This physical thing was created physically, but I don't have a way of physically showing you that. So yeah, if you don't have a way of showing that, then it didn't fucking happen.
Who said it was a physical thing?
It is
Who said it was a
physical.
physical thing?
We
I
can
never told you
demonstrate
anything
it.
about that
It is
being a physical
demonstrable.
thing. I
It is
didn't say that.
observable. It is testable. We could put it in a fucking tube. We are talking about empirics.
I'm not...
The universe is empirical. Energy is empirical. This is all empirics. If you have some magical fucking way for an empirical thing to be fucking empirically created without an empirical way, then you need to explain how that's even fucking possible.
I never said this thing that we're both talking about had
The
to
thing
be,
is
you know,
energy.
had
The
to be
thing is
physical.
space-time. I'm trying to simplify the
For you,
fuck
it's
out of this
energy.
for you. You're struggling so
Okay, so
much.
now it's energy and space-time. So now it's energy.
Yeah,
and
energy is
space-time.
not the same
You're
as
initially
space-time.
saying just energy. You're initially just saying
Energy exists in a space,
How
therefore
come you-
space-time
how come you
exists.
negated- How come? Okay, sure. How come you negated the? How come you negated the preposition of space-time to begin with? You begin with just energy, and that was it. Now you're adding space-time
Because you keep doing it, because you're incapable.
Because it's a necessary condition.
Holy shit. Yeah, energy and space-time are necessary.
Space-time
Correct.
is a necessary condition of
Correct.
energy. Yes.
Correct. Now
Okay.
demonstrate that
Okay,
God
then
has
what's the
jack
possibility?
fucking shit to do with any of this.
What if I were to claim that space-time was God?
Space-time
Okay.
has a fucking mind, will, and emotion? The fuck? You need help, dude?
As a necessary condition.
If you want to call energy, if you want to call space-time your God, yeah, I can call the sun, moon, and trees God. That doesn't make it an all-powerful triomni creator of the fucking universe. That's fucking stupid. Keep your logic and be consistent. This is annoying.
I've been consistent.
No, you're,
throughout,
dude, you are
actually.
so fucking confused. It's obnoxious.
It's just we're both going back and forth to.
No, I'm sticking on the
initially
same
started
goddamn fucking point
Okay,
I've been consistent on this entire time, and you are not able to fucking comprehend the
Yes.
words.
Yeah, you begin with energy, and that was it. And then I
Can energy be
added
created?
space-time as a necessary condition.
Can energy be created?
We've gone through this already.
Demonstrate
There's no
that.
need to- Demonstrate what?
You just said with God. Demonstrate that a
said
God has
space-time.
anything to do with energy.
Space-time.
Okay, wonderful. Can space-time be fucking created?
It must have been.
No, motherfucker, you cannot go from a changeless state to a state of change. You cannot change without change. I've said this 12 times. Pay attention.
Just 1 second.
I'm crashing out because you're fucking dumb. Pay attention. You cannot go from a changeless state to a state of change because it can't change in a changeless state.
Relax.
Jesus, fuck.
Relax. The whole idea of space-time was something that I brought about. You were just talking
Can space-time
about
change?
and that was it.
Can space-time
right?
change to space-time from a space-timeless state?
Those are constants.
Dude,
Space-time
pay
is
attention.
constant.
Can changeless state change to a state of change?
Said no. It's like, I don't know if you have a difficult
Then change, i.e. time, which is space-time, has always existed.
We've already talked about this.
You're correct. I've said this so many fucking times that you're incapable of comprehending what's going on here.
Because you want me to give you a demonstration of a God that is purely physical, and I can't do that. And I told you I cannot do
you
that.
are describing you are because it doesn't exist physically. Because it doesn't exist physically. Because it doesn't exist physically, and it doesn't physically do shit. Therefore, there's no reason to fucking believe it exists at all, because none of anything we've talked about need a fucking God.
You can disprove the non-existence of something you don't.
Yeah, I can. I can debunk the fuck out of your God.
You don't need. No, you can't do that. Here's
Does your God exist outside of time?
Yes.
Then he can't interact with time. Therefore, he didn't create anything. Debunked. End of story. You just got rhetorical backshots.
What? So
your God cannot do anything if he doesn't have change. If your God exists outside of time, he exists outside of the possibility of change, therefore can't change, therefore can't create. Pay attention. Jesus Christ.
How do you believe morality came to exist? How do you believe morality?
If I may, real quick.
Morals are principles to determine right from wrong, developed by societies and people through culture and history. This is the study of ethics.
What necessitated that?
No. Wellness, before you do that, let me ask you this. Were you trying to run Thomas Aquinas' arguments, or do you have respect for Thomas Aquinas' arguments?
Say that again.
So the argument that you were running sounded very similar to, some of Thomas Aquinas' arguments. Now, I know you're a deist, and Thomas Aquinas is a theist, but I was curious if you were holding to or trying to argue from Thomas Aquinas.
It does kind of sound like he was trying to go down that route.
Yeah, or if
it sounded like your argument just failed.
If you have respect for Thomas Aquinas, and I promise this is relevant.
I do respect Thomas. Yes.
Okay. So Thomas Aquinas posited or stated that it is impossible to prove logically or scientifically or naturally. I think the term he used was naturally, but that was basically the science of the time. Yeah. He held that it is impossible to prove naturally whether or not the universe had a beginning, that it is an article of faith. And so you're positing and trying to put forward the necessity of the universe beginning. But if you actually read Thomas Aquinas' arguments very carefully, not once does he argue for the necessity of the universe having a beginning. In fact, like his first cause argument, he just states that the chain cannot have infinite regress, which is not the same as the chain not being able to be infinite. He posits and allows for the possibility at this point in that argument for an infinite chain of causation that still has a quote-unquote first cause, as in ontologically speaking. because causation doesn't have to be on that same link of the chain, but it could be of a different type of causation that modern day we would call grounding. So you were trying to appeal to some kind of beginning, or get Cody to admit to some kind of beginning of the universe, that the universe went from nothing to something, which is what Cody was trying to demonstrate was illogical thinking. And Thomas Aquinas allows for an eternal universe. And if you actually look at the way that he argues about God creating from nothing, or ex nihilo, it's emanation. It's still a kind of eternal existence that Cody would accept as eternal, while still necessitating the need for a God. So I would strongly recommend looking into the Aristotelian metaphysics that Thomas Aquinas is operating from, and the language and usage of the terms, because they mean something very differently back then than what we would intuit them to mean today.
Here, let me simplify this and go back. Can you physically demonstrate a physical thing coming into being from a non-physical being?
I think I had initially, said that this thing, right, as a cause outside of the chain of causes, right, I cannot point to. I said that in the very beginning.
I know you said that, but then you tried to prove it still. So if you can't show me that a physical thing
so you
physically
have to see
existed because of a non-physical thing, if you can't show me that, or even make it make logical sense, I have no reason to fucking believe that. That's stupid. It's incoherent. It's absurd in every way possible. All physical things that are created, there's evidence that they were created by something external. Whether that external thing has a physical essence about it or not is up for debate.
That's true.
But it will have some sort of causal
good.
link showing the cause being, etc.
Yeah, that's good. The thing, you're saying that everything created has an external cause, right?
Correct.
That could be the universe for you and I don't know that external cause.
Brother. Can energy be created?
Well, hang on, Cody, before you, because he basically
he just went back. We just went back.
Cody,
because the universe is energy, dude.
Well,
and you keep saying
Cody,
the universe is created when it wasn't.
He said that the universe. Cody, he did say just now that the universe could be that uncreated thing for the both of you.
That I can grant. The universe is uncreated. That doesn't make it a god, though.
What do you mean it doesn't make it a god?
Define God.
So you don't think the universe can be omniscient?
Omniscience requires a mind, and requires awareness, and requires knowledge of things. The universe does not possess that. There are individuals that possess knowledge in the universe, sure, but that doesn't mean that the universe itself. That would be like saying, because I have knowledge, my cells have knowledge.
And then you just become, what's that philosophy?
There's limitation to things, right? I think that there's things that operate without a mind, right?
Yeah. Naturally, with explanation.
Yes, like our cells. Our cells operate without a mind.
Naturally.
I think we allude.
But that doesn't.
We allude to.
Brother,
an external existence
cells
of
don't have
operating.
purpose. They are not thinking I should do this. They are interacting naturally because of the laws and constants in place from fucking energy. There is no mind in a cell. A mind is something given by a brain. Consciousness is an emergent
Yeah.
property of a brain. The only reason me and you can think about anything is because we have a brain. Nerve endings are able to interact without a brain due to other
Yes.
natural means. They're not omniscient. They don't think. They don't have feelings. They don't have desires. They don't have intentions at all.
Yes,
They
yes,
react
yes.
naturally.
Yes.
The
Okay.
universe, energy, does not have a brain. It does not have consciousness. It does not interact with intent. There is no omniscience. There is no thought. There is no will. There is nothing. It is interacting naturally. So no, I
So
do
you wouldn't
not
be able to
believe it is
call
a
it,
god.
and you wouldn't be able to, and because of that, you wouldn't be able to claim that the universe is omniscient. At that point, by the way, if you are trying to claim that the universe is God, you become a pantheist, not a deist.
Or an idealist, which is just fucking
Yes.
stupid.
Yes. Again, going back to there being an external cause, I was appealing to something that he could potentially believe in or something. I'm trying
There's
to
no
appeal to something
external
that he
cause
can
to the
also
universe, dude.
Wellness. Like I said, relook into it, understand the difference between efficient cause and grounding, because the Aristotelian metaphysical system had 4 different types of causations. Nowadays, when people talk about cause and effect, they're talking specifically about efficient cause. However, there's the type of relation of causal relation that Thomas Aquinas is operating in and that Aristotle is operating in is less of efficient cause. That's just one type of causal relation, but it had more to do with explanatory power or reason given or grounding. Like, if I was to take a triangle and say that, Cody would not call this a cause, but Thomas Aquinas would, the fact that it is on a flat geometric plane and has 3 sides causes the sum of its angles to equal 180 degrees. Thomas Aquinas would agree with that terminology. Cody would not, because that's not efficient causation, which is what the term means nowadays, which is why people now talk about grounding versus causation. So I would recommend looking into that.
Definitely.
And then the second thing, look into emanation and how Thomas Aquinas argues how God, as an unchanging being, is eternally emanating all of reality, because he doesn't go from not emanating to emanating. He is always emanating all of reality, and that is going to get you around a lot of the critiques that Cody and other atheists are going to have with this idea of God creating. So you're on the right track, but because you have gaps in your understanding on what Thomas Aquinas is trying to accomplish with his arguments, it's causing you to fall into these pitfalls that he does have the answers for. There's a reason Cody has me up here to help people. It's because even though he doesn't agree with me, I've been able to respond to a lot of his concerns with some of the very common problems he brings up in a at least satisfactory way, where he's like, okay, at least that's consistent, even if I don't grant it.
Yeah,
That's the majority of our
absolutely.
debates is I don't grant that, but I like that you responded that way.
Yeah, that makes sense, Catholic. I think, the difficulty here is just operating from things that are almost purely transcendental and things that are physical, right? And I think that's
Aquinas
that's the
would
mismatch
disagree.
that I'm
Well,
having.
Aquinas would
Which is
disagree with
okay.
you.
But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Yeah.
Well, Aquinas would disagree with you there. The reason why I'm saying that you're having a problem right now is due to these gaps in knowledge that you have, and it's not your fault. And I'm not saying you did a bad job.
By the way, it's like I don't align with all the prepositions or or theories that Aquinas proposed. Not all of them.
Yeah, and I don't either. Like, I have lots of respect for Thomas Aquinas, but he
I'm
is
saying
still
if you purely use him to characterize everything that I'm saying, I think you.
Well, he's a Catholic.
You had mentioned you had a lot of respect for him. So because
To a
I also
degree,
have a
yes.
lot of respect
To a
for him,
degree.
I'm
Yeah. to a
I'm
degree.
pointing to a shared individual that we both can look to and
Yeah.
that we're both aware of.
Yes.
Now I understand
Here's
as a
my main
deist, you're not.
problem. My main problem with basically all arguments, both CT and wellness, you guys both, wellness, this is for you, CT already knows this, is you are trying to take this imaginary being and input it into a actual reality. But you want to be able to input it into our actual reality without any demonstration at all. And then you fall onto the category error of, well, it's a metaphysical claim. It doesn't need empirical justification. But then you make empirical claims and just run into, that turns into a category error of where you're like, yeah, this physical thing was made, but I don't need to physically prove it because it was made by this non-physical thing. Like, no, you still need to have an epistemic justification for that. So it seems to me that you want God to be real. You have zero evidence. You have zero rational thoughts behind it. You have zero logical soundness towards it. You have nothing at all. Nada. Nothing exists in your brain that can make it true, but you want it to be true, so you refuse to accept what I say.
What exists in your brain that can make it untrue?
I
Nothing
already
either,
debunked your
right?
God.
There's
Your
nothing
God,
else.
nothing existing
You-
outside of
but
time can interact with time. Therefore, any story about something outside of time having
how can you
interactions
debunk something
does
you don't even
not
understand?
exist. It is not
No, no,
true.
Or something that you don't even
wellness.
think exists, you know?
No.
Is it-
That's why he doesn't think it exists, is because it's been debunked. I can debunk unicorns, and because I can debunk unicorns, I think that they don't exist. Now, you disagree whether his argument is sound, but it's at least valid. And so Cody is justified in thinking that God does not exist. That's why I was saying is like you both agree to a necessary thing existing. Now the fact of the matter is, and this is a conversation that is still hotly debated in the philosophical community, is moving from necessary thing existing to that necessary thing being a omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent being. Like it's called the gap problem in natural theology, of trying to move between those 2 points. You and Cody agree on point 1. You haven't bridged the gap yet, and no one has yet, to my knowledge. I'm currently working on that.
I think if a
But
God
that's
exists,
I am
CT
still
will be the
working on
first
that
person
too.
with a strong philosophical argument for it. You should go to CT's page here on TikTok and watch his videos. But yeah, here's why I don't believe the Abrahamic God or any God external of the universe, first and foremost. You cannot separate space-time and energy. Energy has always existed, and because of its existing, it has always existed in some sort of a space. Time is a measurement of change. You cannot go from changeless to change. Therefore, it has always been a state of change. Therefore, energy and space-time has always existed. There is no change. There is no moving interactions if you don't have change. You cannot get from A to B, i.e., A cause B effect, without time. If something is outside of time, it is incapable of going from A to B, which requires change, i.e., time. That all God ideas, specifically Abrahamic God and a lot of deistic gods, require this being to be external of the universe, which is going to be space-time. You cannot have interactions if there is no change. You can't move your hand. You can't think. You can't create. You can't do anything. If it exists without doing shit. It just sits there doing nothing. No blinking, no breathing, no thinking, no creating, no nothing. It just exists simply as a rock. If it exists. There's no way to demonstrate that. So there's no reason to logically believe in that. There's no capability of something without time to interact with time. So there's no reason to believe in that. It is not logical. That is how I know that God does not exist. It is not logically possible. It is not physically possible. There's no mathematics that make it possible. No possible way for it to be possible. I am a Gnostic atheist.
If it helps you wellness, Cody and I have talked on this point. I know where the argument is weak. I'm not going to say it up here on the live, but
you get very close.
The answer is out there. Yeah. Like Cody acknowledges that, like, if my understanding is correct, then it resolves a lot of the issues that he brought up. Yep. But the problem is he's not convinced that I've demonstrated it yet. And I acknowledge that, like, yeah, like, is my argument good? I think so, but it's still worldview dependent is what I'm calling it.
I think it's the main differences are metaphysical frameworks.
Yeah. And I'm trying to work on an argument that can work independent of metaphysical frameworks.
Do you think you can share a little bit of your argument?
You can go to his page.
It's pinned on my page. You can easily find it, and it's way too long for what I think Cody would be willing to. You agree, though? It's necessary. Each step is necessary.
It needs to be long as fuck, but it is long as fuck.
But, Cody's listened to it on a live before, and I think once on his live is enough for Cody.
Yeah, thanks. I'll have to look into that as well. Thank you.
I need to seriously stress one thing, though. And this is something I wish someone drilled into my brain when I was a theist. If you're not capable of making it logically sound, and if there is no justification in science, mathematics, or anything to believe in it, you shouldn't believe in it. You should just stop believing. If you can't make it logically sound, don't fucking believe it. It's not logical. It's not true.
I would say logically valid. I don't know if I'd say logically sound, but at least logically valid.
I think it's okay to believe in logically valid things, dependent on your reasoning. Like, for instance, I practice witchcraft, okay? Not because I believe in spirits, not because I believe in magic or ghosts, but because I believe in the mind. When I do certain rituals, it has certain outcomes. Is it because of a crystal? No, it's because of psychology. But I can still accept that doing certain things, even though me doing these certain things is not the cause for this outcome, doing these things still has an outcome to it. The cause is not the crystal, but using the crystal allows for the outcome, if that makes sense. So it's okay to believe in certain things and practice certain things and know that they're not real. But when we're talking about objective reality, we got to come back to reality. Like if I'm out on the road, I'll get this out and then so if I'm out in public, like, and all the time, I don't know what it is about my face, must be very punchable. I have a lot of Christians come up to me and invite me to their Bible studies. And I straight up just say, I am a witch. I don't even say I'm an atheist. I say I'm a witch. To get a crazy response from them because I fucking love freaking people out and pissing people off. And then when they say, well, why? I say, well, I can see the trees and I can worship the trees. That's the closest thing to a God that I'll ever have. Without a tree, I can't breathe. I die. Therefore, that's the closest thing to anything I should ever worship. If they say, well, why do you believe in magic? My response is not going to be objective in truth. It's going to be, well, whenever I hold this crystal and do this ritual, this outcome happens. So therefore, I'm going to keep doing it. But whenever I'm talking and debating an objective reality and truth and facts, I throw that out the window. I drop that verbiage. I drop that way of thinking, and I stick to only reality. The crystal doesn't do shit. My psychology does it. So if you want to live life with the idea of, I believe in a God, it's one thing to call the universe God. It's one thing to say that you believe in a God. But when someone needs proof of this God, you have to come back to reality. If there's no proof, there's no fucking proof.
Yeah, I think there's things that require, like empirical evidence, right? To be demonstrated. But I think that there is also things, such as mathematics that don't necessarily require things within, within the physical,
It
right?
does.
Well,
In other words, they
that's
can
that's
happen without the
It
physical
does.
because of
that's
construction.
well, that's also not representing what Cody's trying to get at either. Um, wellness, like I was saying, like it's not that you did a bad job in representing your argument. You honestly did a lot better than most theists that I try to help out. Like the way that you presented it wasn't wrong. The error is coming from the metaphysical frameworks
Yep.
that you and Cody have are so completely different, and trying to talk about or recognize or justify particular metaphysical frameworks requires a completely different skill set that it's honestly hard to get. So, that's why I was saying, like, look into the arguments, look into different metaphysical frameworks, look into priority monism, look into interdependency. Like, just look into as many different things as you possibly can. Like you were saying, you like Thomas Aquinas, but you don't hold to every single thing he says. Great, me too. In fact, that's actually in the spirit of Thomas Aquinas of trying to find truth wherever it is.
Yep.
And, so you're more in line with Thomas Aquinas than most Thomists that come up here and try to debate Cody.
Hey, I'll just ask a question. Cody, I believe you said that your idea of morality is simply just principles that we essentially bring about within society, right, to guide our way of living, right? Correct?
Correct. That's the definition of morals.
Okay. Why do you think we need these principles?
Because we are social creatures and we can't survive without each other. So it's in our best interest for survival, if survival is important, to do good to people. I don't know how to build a house, but John Smith down the road does. Kind of need him, don't I? I don't know how to save a life, but Jessica does. Kind of need her, don't I? It's in our best
So,
interest to be selfless.
okay.
It's that simple.
What? Yes, but why is that?
I just
It's
explained it.
you
I will
see,
die. I will die
okay.
without John and Jessica. That's it. It's that fucking simple.
Okay, it's a
So,
need. Go
well,
on, go on.
so the thing about moral arguments, especially if you're trying to debate with a non-believer, is first you got to establish what is and isn't morality. Cody's given a honestly really good definition of morality from a non-theistic framework, and it's one that I, as a Catholic, can accept and work with. So, it's not that what Cody provided is a wrong or invalid definition or justification for the existence of morals. The thing about the moral argument is most are trying to say that it's because morals are grounded in God, and there is some truth to that, but that's because everything's grounded in God. In my understanding of my metaphysics, Cody's existence is grounded in God right now. But it'd be ludicrous for me to say, well, Cody can't know that he exists unless he acknowledges that he is grounded in God. That's ludicrous and idiotic of me to say.
You know what's funny about that is, in accordance with CT's philosophy, my job basically right now in life is to sharpen Christian thoughts.
Well, I'm up here trying to help them not make a fool of Christianity in the advice of St. Augustine, as well as to, just protect them, so to speak, because there's a lot of people who will come up, not necessarily you, wellness, because like I said, you did. Please don't take this to mean that you did a bad job representing your position.
No, it's all right.
I genuinely think you did, but there's just so much that could have helped you in this conversation that you weren't aware of, which again isn't your fault. But the thing is that so many people come up here thinking, hey, I've got this great defeater for atheism. But the problem is that atheists have thought about this just a little bit harder than the average theist. Now, I'm not saying that they've thought about it as hard as they should have, because I think that they stopped a little bit too early. And this isn't a dig at Cody or anything like that. This is just me being honest in my perspective. But they have thought about it more than the average theist. And because they came to an answer to their questions about theism, deism, or whatever particular worldview that they have, and they found an answer that works really, really well, they're happy with it. And they don't see a need to further explore for another metaphysical worldview. And so then you have a Christian coming up with a worldview, and I just used Christian, I didn't mean to imply, so I do apologize, but you have someone come up with a worldview that they accept, but they haven't thought really, really, really hard about. So even though there is an answer to respond to the criticism, because they haven't thought hard about it, they don't know that answer, which then causes them to fall away. And I'm trying to help let people know, no, there are answers out there that can help. You don't.
Yeah, certainly are. It's like, I think, again, I'll just say this one more time. I think our main issue was just, there's this philosopher, I can't remember his name, but he talks about this idea of a transcendental reflection, right? Where people oftentimes forget or don't, distinguish between that which is physical, right, and can be consistent within, like premise one all the way to the conclusion, and that which is also consistent in, in ideas, which can go from premise one all the way through to the conclusion, right? And I think most of our debate here was essentially jumping back and forth, right? From, a transcendental aesthetic and then coming back to, empiricism.
Well, to be fair to Cody, he was trying to keep it linear on one side.
Right. And that was our issue. Sorry to cut you off. That was our issue because I don't think God can necessarily be proven within a physical
as I explained, that
but yeah,
and that, as I said, that wasn't necessarily what Cody is asking for. But if you're claiming that we can observe the effects of God within the physical realm, then we should be able to use those same effects to prove the metaphysical.
Yep.
That's what Cody's saying. And
I believe metaphysical things.
And so the other, and so what I was trying to get at was just, hey, you did well. You didn't make an error in the presentation of the argument, but just keep practicing, keep looking, and keep finding out about these different worldviews that exist, because it will help you in your dialectic a lot better. Cody was shocked. I've been studying my faith for over 20 years, and I've been engaging in this interfaith dialogue with non-theistic or non-believers like Cody in some extremely hostile places. In fact, I share, I don't know if you heard it, but I shared with them, I started off on Reddit atheist sites, having debates and conversations there.
Which is so hostile. I'm a disgusting piece of shit in those groups.
They make Cody look like a saint.
They make me look calm.
So
yeah.
So I was doing that for about 5 years, but I started it 10 years ago.
Okay.
So I've been doing this for a very long time. So I'm able to recognize these patterns, and that's why, people
Absolutely.
like Cody, people like Cody respect and are willing to listen to me, because I don't just outright dismiss their concerns. Like, I acknowledge that their concerns are valid, but then I also show, here's an answer within my worldview, and I'm also not trying to push or convince them of my worldview.
Absolutely. And I think for me, it's like I haven't encountered, a ton of atheists. It's like I've encountered a few and everything, but I haven't encountered a lot. There are some that think, and there are some that don't do much thinking, right? And they just, essentially claim, God doesn't exist or something like that. Something to, that
Just
doesn't
to
appeal to
defend,
much.
I am of the
But
minority of atheists. The majority of atheists are going to be agnostic atheists.
Yeah. But anywho, I'll do some digging into other angles that I can also come from to try to understand, their worldviews. That way I can present my worldview in a way that's understandable to them, right?
Yep.
And then again, it's like, guys, I just want to say thank you for this time. It's like I got to get going, but I do appreciate the conversation and the space, to just talk. Yeah, CT, thank you as well for just essentially serving
It's
as
why
an
Cody
intermediary
tolerates me.
between both of us. Yeah.
It's why Cody tolerates me, because I'm the translator.
Pretty much.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Pretty fucking much.
Appreciate it from for both angles. It's like Cody speaks a different language and I speak a different language. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, you have yourself a good day.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks, man. CT, I had a quick question. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
33.
Surprisingly old.
Yeah. I've looked into. It's like I want to look a little bit into Catholicism, and just try to understand their worldview as well. But do you have any like books you'd recommend starting from, and also just like
I recommend talking to him. Go DM him and like have a call with him. He also hosts lives as well, so follow him. And when he goes live, hop up.
Sure, yeah.
And one book I would recommend is just one book I would recommend is just the Summa of the Summa. Like, don't read the whole Summa by yourself. Like, read Peter Kraft Summa of the Summa.
Sure, yeah, I'll look into that. Cody, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Next month, I'll be 26.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah, man. You have yourself a good one. We'll talk to you next time, all right? It was pretty chill. I appreciate that. Well, I gotta get going too. Gotta get out and do some work. My lazy ass needs to move.
Ooh.
I love my work. Bro is hell.
Thanks for having me up.
Yeah. You have a good one, brother. Appreciate you requesting up today.
Yep, absolutely.
Adios. Appreciate everyone being here. YouTube chat, mods, TikTok mods. You guys have been absolute legends today. We've had quite a bit of spammers. Sorry for the lack of streams. Just got moved and got the studio set up. So starting today, obviously, back to regular streaming. I'm going to be trying to stream early since I tend to collide a lot with Justin and Ian. I'm going to try and stream before or after they do. So I'm going to test out earlier streams and see how that goes. And if that doesn't go well, we'll swap over to late night streams. So appreciate you guys being here, and I will see you guys next time. YouTube, you guys are the favorite. I love you. You're the favored. You're the favorite.